I found Viagra in my wife's luggage. I didn't argue. I swapped them with sleeping pills. She. I found Viagra in my wife's luggage. I didn't argue. I swapped them with sleeping pills. She and her coworker checked into their hotel, laughing, but he collapsed hours later. But the nightmare was only beginning. I always assumed the only blue pills in my life would be the antacids I'd need after eating my wife's cooking. Shows what I know about life's little surprises. My name is Tom Halsey, and at 39, I thought I had marriage figured out. Mara and I had been together for 12 years, married for 8. I fixed computers for Cedar Heights Municipal Services. She climbed the corporate ladder at Morrison and Associates marketing firm. We had a nice split-level house, 2 cars, and what I believed was a solid relationship built on mutual respect and shared Netflix passwords. That illusion shattered on a Tuesday morning in October, when I was helping Mara pack for what she called a business retreat in Chicago. "Honey, did you pack your migraine medication?" I asked, zipping up her small toiletry bag. The bag felt heavier than usual, so I opened it to make sure nothing would spill during travel. That's when I found them. A small bottle of little blue diamonds that definitely weren't aspirin. Viagra, a full bottle, minus about 6 pills. My hands started shaking as I stared at the prescription label. The name on the bottle wasn't mine, and it sure as hell wasn't Mara's. It belonged to someone named Joel Whitaker. "Tom, did you find my pills?" Mara called from the bedroom. I quickly shoved the bottle back into the bag, my mind racing. Joel Whitaker. I knew that name. He was one of the senior executives at Mara's company, a smooth-talking 42-year-old who drove a Range Rover and wore suits that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Yeah, I found them," I called back, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. Mara appeared in the doorway, looking gorgeous, as always, in her black business dress. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked like the successful marketing executive she was, not like someone who was apparently planning to use another man's erectile dysfunction medication. "Great! This retreat is going to be intense, and I can't afford to have one of my headaches ruin everything," she said, kissing my cheek. Her perfume smelled expensive and unfamiliar. "Right, headaches," I repeated, watching her face carefully. "Who else is going on this retreat?" "Oh, the usual suspects. Janet from PR, Mike from sales, Joel from executive development. You know, the senior team." She said Joel's name without even a flicker of emotion. "Joel Whitaker? Yeah, you've met him at the Christmas parties. Tall guy, silver hair, drives that ridiculous SUV." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Why?" "Just curious. When will you be back?" "Thursday evening. 3 days of strategic planning sessions and team-building exercises." She rolled her eyes. "Thrilling stuff." I helped her carry her bags to the car, playing the role of the supportive husband while my mind churned with questions. As she drove away, waving cheerfully from behind the wheel, I realized I was about to find out just how much I didn't know about my own wife. The first thing I did was call my best friend Eddie Martinez, who taught high school gym and had an uncanny ability to see through people's bullshit. "Eddie, hypothetical question," I said when he answered. "If you found medication that wasn't yours in your wife's luggage, what would you think?" "What kind of medication?" Eddie asked immediately. "The kind that helps with performance issues." There was a long pause. "Tom, please tell me you're talking about someone else's wife." "I wish I was." "Shit, man, what are you gonna do?" "I honestly don't know. Part of me wants to believe there's an innocent explanation." "Like what?" "She's planning to slip it into your coffee as a surprise?" "That's not helping, Eddie." "Sorry. Look, before you do anything crazy, you need more evidence. One bottle of pills doesn't necessarily mean she's having an affair. Maybe this Joel guy asked her to pick up his prescription or something." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But deep down, I knew Eddie was grasping at straws, and so was I. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Mara's things, not just casual looking, but serious searching. In her dresser drawer, underneath some lingerie I'd never seen before, I found a receipt from Victoria's Secret dated 3 weeks ago. The total was $347. $347 on lingerie I'd never seen her wear. In her jewelry box, I discovered a pair of diamond earrings that definitely weren't from me. They were beautiful, expensive looking, and came in a box from Cartier. My hands were shaking again as I put everything back exactly where I'd found it. The evidence was mounting, but I still didn't have definitive proof. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there were innocent explanations for everything. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the way Mar had been acting lately, the late nights at the office, the mysterious phone calls she'd take in the other room, the way she'd started going to the gym more often and buying expensive clothes. The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find out the truth one way or another. I started with social media. Joel Whitaker had a Facebook profile that wasn't completely private. I could see his recent posts, including several photos from company events. In one photo from last month's Morrison and Associates annual picnic, I spotted Mara in the background. She was laughing at something Joel was saying, and her hand was resting on his arm. It was a small gesture, but something about their body language looked intimate. Familiar? I scrolled through more photos, looking for any other appearances by my wife. I found 3 more pictures where they were both visible, and in each one they seemed to be gravitating toward each other. My phone buzzed with a text from Mara. Made it to Chicago safely. Hotel is nice. Miss you already. I stared at the message, wondering if she was lying about missing me too. Miss you too, I texted back. Have fun at your meetings. But instead of putting my phone away, I opened the Find My Phone app. Mara and I had shared our locations with each other years ago for practical reasons, so we could find each other in crowded places, or so I'd know when she was on her way home from work. I'd never used it to spy on her before. The little dot showing Mara's location was indeed in Chicago, at the Marriott downtown. That part of her story was true, at least. I spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, but I kept thinking about those pills, about the lingerie, about the earrings, about the way she'd said Joel's name so casually, like she was trying too hard to sound indifferent. That evening, Eddie came over with a 6-pack of beer and a sympathetic ear. You look like hell, he said, settling onto my couch. I feel like hell. I keep going back and forth between thinking I'm paranoid and thinking I'm an idiot for not seeing this sooner. What does your gut tell you? I took a long pull from my beer. My gut tells me my wife is in Chicago right now, probably in bed with Joel Whitaker, using his Viagra to make sure they both have a good time. Eddie winced. That's pretty specific. I've had all day to think about it. So what's your plan? Are you going to confront her when she gets back? I don't know. What would you do? Eddie was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I'd want proof. Real proof. Because once you accuse someone of cheating, there's no taking it back. If you're wrong, your marriage is probably over anyway. And if you're right, if I'm right, my marriage is definitely over. Yeah. So you better be damn sure before you pull that trigger. After Eddie left, I sat alone in my house, surrounded by 12 years of shared memories, wondering if any of it had been real. The photos on the mantle showed a happy couple, Mara and me on vacation in Florida, at Eddie's wedding, at my company Christmas party. We looked genuinely happy in those pictures. When had that changed? When had she started looking at Joel Whitaker the way she used to look at me? My phone buzzed with another text from Mara. Long day of meetings. Going to grab dinner and get some sleep. Love you. This time I didn't text back right away. Instead, I opened the location app again. The little dot was still at the Marriott, but now there was something else. A second dot, very close to Mara's location. Joel Whitaker's dot. Because apparently, he was also sharing his location with someone whose phone I could see. I stared at the screen, watching the 2 dots that represented my wife and her colleague. They were so close they were almost overlapping. That's when I knew for certain that my marriage was over. The only question now was what I was going to do about it. I opened Mara's toiletry bag, which she'd left behind in her rush to repack everything into a smaller bag. The bottle of Joel's Viagra was gone, of course, but there was something else interesting. A small bottle of sleeping pills, prescribed to Mara for occasional insomnia. I looked at those sleeping pills for a long time, thinking about poetic justice and the kind of revenge that would be both satisfying and completely legal. Then I started planning. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I wasn't actually sick, but I figured discovering your wife's affair qualified as a legitimate health issue. Besides, I had research to do. I started by learning everything I could about Joel Whitaker. LinkedIn told me he'd been with Morrison and Associates for 6 years, working his way up from account manager to senior executive. His profile picture showed a man who was undeniably handsome in that distinguished, silver-haired way that probably made women think of George Clooney. His Facebook page revealed more personal details. He was divorced, no kids, and lived in an expensive condo downtown. He posted frequently about his workouts, his car, and his wine collection. The kind of guy who probably used phrases like living my best life unironically. What really caught my attention were the comments on his posts. Several women from his office, including my wife, regularly liked and commented on his photos. Mara's comments were always professional but friendly. "Looking good, Joel," on a photo of him at a company golf tournament. "Jealous of that view," on a picture from his condo balcony. I'd never paid attention to her social media activity before. Why would I? I trusted her. Around noon, I checked the location app again. Both dots were still at the Marriott, and it was the middle of a workday. Either Morrison and Associates had the most relaxed meeting schedule in corporate history, or my wife and Joel were spending their business retreat in bed. I was staring at my phone, feeling sick to my stomach when it started ringing. Mara's name appeared on the screen. "Tom? Thank God you answered." Her voice was panicked, breathless. "What's wrong?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "It's Joel. Something happened. We were having dinner discussing tomorrow's presentation, and he just collapsed. The paramedics are here. They're taking him to the hospital." I could hear sirens in the background, voices shouting medical terminology. It sounded genuinely chaotic. "Oh no," I said, trying to sound appropriately concerned. "Is he okay?" "I don't know. He was fine one minute, and then he just passed out. His face went all pale, and he couldn't stay conscious. The paramedics are asking about medications, allergies, that sort of thing. That's scary. Do you know what caused it? They think it might be a reaction to something. Maybe food poisoning, or..." She paused. "Or maybe he had a bad reaction to some medication." I almost smiled. "What kind of medication?" "I don't know, Tom. This isn't the time for 20 questions. I'm riding with him to the hospital." "You're riding in the ambulance?" "Someone needs to be here for him. His emergency contact is his ex-wife, and she lives in California." How convenient that Mara knew who Joel's emergency contact was. How thoughtful of her to volunteer to accompany him to the hospital. What a dedicated colleague. "Of course," I said, "and keep me posted. I hope he's okay." "I'll call you later. I love you." "Love you too," I lied. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen, thinking about the bottle of sleeping pills that had been in Mara's toiletry bag. The bottle that was now missing, just like Joel's Viagra. I wondered if Joel had taken what he thought was Viagra before his romantic evening with my wife. I wondered if he'd been expecting enhanced performance and instead got a powerful sedative. I wondered if Mara had figured out what happened, or if she was still confused about Joel's sudden collapse. Either way, their romantic evening was definitely ruined. Eddie called around 3 o'clock. "How are you holding up?" "Funny you should ask. Mara just called. Apparently, Joel Whitaker collapsed during their business dinner and had to be rushed to the hospital." There was a long pause. "Seriously?" "Seriously, she's at the hospital with him right now." Wow. What do you think happened?" "I think Joel took the wrong pills tonight." Another pause. "Tom, please tell me you didn't do anything illegal." "I didn't do anything illegal. I may have done something clever, but definitely not illegal." "Jesus Christ. What did you do?" "I told him about swapping Joel's Viagra with Mara's sleeping pills." Eddie listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "That's either brilliant or completely insane," he finally said. "Maybe both." "What happens now?" "Now I wait to see how they try to spin this. Because I guarantee you they're not going to tell the truth about why Joel had erectile dysfunction medication in the first place." I was right. Mara called again around 6 o'clock. How's Joel? I asked. Better. The doctors think it was food poisoning from something he ate at lunch. He's going to be fine, but they want to keep him overnight for observation. Food poisoning, huh? Yeah, bad shellfish or something. These things happen. Are you staying at the hospital? No, I'm back at the hotel. It's been a long day. I think I'm just going to order room service and get some sleep. Sounds like a good plan. Give Joel my best when you see him. I will. Love you, honey. After she hung up, I poured myself a scotch and toasted my absent wife. Here's to food poisoning, darling, and sweet dreams. But my satisfaction was short-lived. The next morning, I woke up to a text message that made my blood boil. Change of plans, Joel's feeling better, so we're going to extend the retreat through Friday. More time to work on the presentation. See you Friday night instead of Thursday. Miss you. They were extending their trip. Joel had recovered from his food poisoning, and now they wanted an extra day together, probably to make up for the romantic evening that had been interrupted by his unexpected nap. I stared at the message, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. They thought they were clever. They thought they could spin Joel's collapse as food poisoning and continue their affair like nothing had happened. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I called Eddie. Change of plans, they're staying an extra day. What? Why? Apparently, Joel has recovered from his food poisoning, and they need more time to work on their presentation. Their presentation? Right. I'm done playing games, Eddie. It's time to take the gloves off. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time everyone at Morrison and Associates knew what kind of business retreat their senior executives are really conducting. I spent the rest of Thursday planning my next move. If Mara and Joel wanted to play games, I was happy to oblige. But they were about to learn that I was much better at games than they thought. The sleeping pills had been just the opening move. Now it was time for the real game to begin. Friday morning, I drove to Morrison and Associates. I'd been to Mara's office building plenty of times over the years for holiday parties and company picnics, so the security guard knew me and waved me through without question. Hey, Tom, called Janet from reception. Here to surprise Mara. She's still in Chicago, you know. Actually, I'm here to see Dave in IT, I said with a smile, having some computer problems at home. Dave Kowalski and I had bonded over craft beer and network security at various company events. He was a good guy, and more importantly, he was someone who understood that information was power. Tom, what brings you to our corporate paradise? Dave asked when I appeared at his cubicle. I need a favor, a big one. Dave looked around to make sure no one was listening, then gestured for me to follow him to an empty conference room. What's going on? He asked once we were alone. I think my wife is having an affair with Joel Whitaker. Dave's expression shifted from friendly to serious. Shit, man, are you sure? Pretty sure. They're in Chicago together right now, supposedly on a business retreat. But I found some things that suggest their relationship isn't strictly professional. I showed him the photos I'd found on social media, explained about the Viagra and the lingerie and the mysterious earrings. Dave listened without judgment, nodding occasionally. What do you need from me? He asked when I finished. I need to know if they've been communicating through company email or messaging systems. And I need to know who else might be aware of what's going on. Dave was quiet for a moment, thinking. I can't give you access to anyone's email. That would be illegal and would cost me my job. I understand. But, he continued, I can tell you that there have been some interesting patterns in our system logs lately. Joel and Mara have been exchanging a lot of messages, often outside normal business hours. And there have been some complaints from other employees about inappropriate behavior. What kind of complaints? Nothing official, just gossip, really. But people have noticed that Joel and Mara spend a lot of time together. Long lunches, closed-door meetings, that sort of thing. Janet in reception mentioned that they left for Chicago together, which struck her as odd since they could have taken separate flights. This was exactly the kind of information I needed. Is there anything else? Dave hesitated. There's one more thing. Joel submitted a request last month to have his hotel expenses for this Chicago trip charged to a different project code. When I asked him about it, he said it was for confidentiality reasons. But the project he specified doesn't exist. He's trying to hide the hotel expenses. That's what it looks like. And if he's sharing a room with Mara, that would explain why. I felt that cold, hard feeling in my chest again. They weren't just having an affair. They were using company money to fund it. Dave, I need one more favor. What? When they get back, I want to expose them, publicly, in a way that makes it impossible for them to deny or spin. Dave looked uncomfortable. Tom, I can't help you with anything that could get me in trouble. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I just need you to make sure that when I reveal what I know, it reaches the right people. What are you planning? I told him my idea. It was risky, but it would be effective. And most importantly, it would be completely legal. Dave thought about it for a long moment. I can't be directly involved, but if you happen to send certain information to certain email addresses, and if that information happens to be forwarded to the entire company directory due to a technical glitch, well, these things happen sometimes. Technical glitches can be very inconvenient. Very inconvenient indeed. We shook hands, and I left Morrison and Associates feeling like I finally had a plan. That afternoon, I received another text from Mara. Presentation went great. Joel and I make a good team. Heading home tomorrow morning. Can't wait to see you. Joel and I make a good team. The phrasing was interesting. Not, the team did well, or our presentation was successful. Joel and I make a good team. I texted back, looking forward to having you home. We need to talk. She responded immediately. Everything okay? You sound serious. Just some things on my mind. We'll discuss when you get back. Now you're making me nervous. Is everything all right with your mom? The house? Everything's fine. Just husband and wife stuff. Nothing urgent. There was a long delay before her next message. Okay, I love you. Love you too. But as I sent that message, I realized it was probably the last time I'd say those words to her and mean them. That evening, Eddie came over to help me prepare for what we'd started calling Operation Sleeping Dog. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked as we sat in my living room, going over the plan. Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. There's already no going back, Eddie. My marriage is over. The only question is whether it ends with me looking like a fool or with them looking like the cheaters they are. Fair enough. What do you need me to do? Just be ready to document everything. I want photos, videos, whatever you can get. This needs to be thoroughly recorded. You really think they'll show up here? Oh, they'll show up. Mara will want to control the narrative, and Joel will want to make sure I don't cause problems for him at work. They'll come here together, probably tomorrow night, thinking they can intimidate me or convince me that I'm imagining things. And when they do? When they do, they're going to get the surprise of their lives. Eddie grinned. I have to admit, this is the most interesting thing that's happened to me in years. Glad I could provide some entertainment. Tom, can I ask you something? Sure. How are you holding up? I mean, really, this has to be killing you inside. I thought about that question. How was I holding up? The truth was, I felt strangely calm. The initial shock and pain had given way to something colder and more focused. I wasn't sad anymore, I was angry. And anger, I was discovering, was a much more useful emotion than sadness. I'm okay, I said finally. Better than okay, actually. For the first time in months, I feel like I'm in control of something. Just don't let the anger consume you, man. Revenge is satisfying, but it's not a long-term life plan. I know, but right now, revenge is exactly what I need. Saturday morning, Mara came home. She looked beautiful and relaxed, like someone who'd just enjoyed a romantic getaway. She hugged me at the door, kissing my cheek, with what seemed like genuine affection. I missed you, she said, and for a moment I almost believed her. I missed you too. How was Chicago? Productive. Joel really knows his stuff. I learned a lot from him. I bet you did. If she caught the edge in my voice, she didn't show it. She went upstairs to unpack, chattering about the hotel and the meetings and how glad she was to be home. I followed her to the bedroom and watched her unpack. The new lingerie was there, but it looked worn now, used. That's pretty, I said, pointing to a black lace teddy I'd never seen before. Oh, that. I bought it before the trip. Thought I might surprise you with it. Why didn't you wear it in Chicago? She paused, a pair of panties in her hand. What do you mean? I mean, if you bought it to surprise me, why does it look like it's already been worn? The silence stretched between us. Mara's face went through a series of expressions. Confusion, realization, and finally, calculation. Tom, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that I know about you and Joel. She sat down hard on the edge of the bed, the color draining from her face. I don't know what you think you know, but I know about the Viagra, Mara. I know about the hotel room. I know about the earrings and the lingerie and the long lunches and the closed-door meetings. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her mind working, trying to figure out how much I actually knew versus how much I was guessing. It's not what you think, she said finally. Really? Then why don't you tell me what it is? Joel and I, we're friends, close friends. Maybe too close. But we haven't, I mean, we're not, you're not what, Mara? You're not sleeping together? You're not having an affair? You're not using company money to fund romantic getaways? Her face crumpled. How long have you known? Long enough. Tom, I can explain. No, I said, cutting her off. You can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. There's no excuse that justifies what you've done. I never meant for this to happen. It just developed. Joel and I work closely together, and we have a connection, and you decided that connection was more important than our marriage. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I love you, Tom, I do. But Joel and I, what we have is different. It's exciting and passionate and over, I finished. It's over, Mara. All of it. She looked up at me with desperate eyes. What do you mean? I mean your affair is about to become very public and very expensive for both of you. Tom, you can't. Joel's career's not my problem. Your career's not my problem. Your reputation is not my problem. The only thing I care about now is making sure everyone knows exactly who you really are. She stood up, anger replacing desperation. You bastard. You self-righteous bastard. Do you have any idea what my life has been like? Married to someone who's content to fix computers for the city for the rest of his life? Someone who has no ambition, no drive, no passion for anything? Apparently not. But I'm about to develop a real passion for justice. If you expose us, you'll destroy everything. My job, Joel's job, both our reputations. Yes, I said simply, that's the point. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I don't know who you are anymore. Funny. I was just thinking the same thing about you. Mara left the house that afternoon, claiming she needed to think. I knew she was really going to warn Joel and strategize about damage control. That was fine with me. I wanted them to know what was coming. Around 6 o'clock, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Tom Halsey? The voice was smooth, confident. Joel Whitaker. Speaking. This is Joel Whitaker from Morrison and Associates. I think we need to talk. Do we? I think we do. There seems to be some confusion about my relationship with your wife. No confusion on my end, Joel. It's pretty clear to me. There was a pause. Tom, I'm going to be straight with you. Mara and I have developed feelings for each other. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't intended to hurt anyone. But these things happen sometimes. These things happen sometimes, I repeated. That's your explanation for having an affair with my wife? I prefer to think of it as two people finding a connection. I prefer to think of it as two people betraying their commitments and lying to everyone around them. Look, I understand you're upset, but Mara is unhappy in your marriage. She has been for a long time. What we have together, it's real, Tom. It's not just some fling. How romantic. Did you practice that speech, or are you improvising? There's no need to be hostile. We're all adults here. You're right. We are all adults. Which is why I'm sure you'll understand that actions have consequences. What's that supposed to mean? It means that if you want to act like a single man, you should probably make sure you actually are one. And if my wife wants to act like she's available, she should probably make sure she actually is. Tom, I think you're overreacting. Joel, let me ask you something. How did you feel when you collapsed in that Chicago hotel? There was a long silence. What? The night you collapsed. Food poisoning, right? Bad shellfish? Yes, food poisoning. Funny thing about food poisoning, it usually doesn't respond to sleeping medication. Another silence, longer this time. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You took what you thought was Viagra, hoping to impress my wife with your performance. Instead, you took a powerful sedative and ended up unconscious in a hotel restaurant. Must have been embarrassing. You son of a bitch. There we go. Now you're being honest. You switched the pills. I switched the pills. And that's just the beginning, Joel. You and Mar have been playing games with me for months, thinking I was too stupid or too trusting to notice. But the games are over now. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to transfer to a different department, or better yet, find a new job. And I want you to pray that I don't decide to share what I know about your little affair with your colleagues. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I have photos of you two together. I have evidence of your hotel arrangements. I have documentation of your inappropriate use of company resources. And I have a very interesting story about why you really collapsed in Chicago. Nobody will believe you. Maybe not, but they'll certainly be curious. And once people start asking questions, they tend to find answers. How do you think your boss will react when he finds out you've been using company money to fund romantic getaways with married employees? Joel was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. Tom, I think you're making a mistake. Mara is going to leave you anyway. She's not happy, and she hasn't been for a long time. You can try to destroy us, but it won't change the fact that your marriage is over. You're right about one thing. My marriage is over. But if I'm going down, I'm taking you both with me. That's not very mature. Maturity is overrated. Revenge, on the other hand, is very satisfying. I hung up before he could respond. An hour later, Mara came home. She looked like she'd been crying, but there was something else in her expression. Something calculating. We need to talk, she said. I'm listening. Joel told me about your conversation. I figured he would. Tom, this doesn't have to be ugly. We can handle this like civilized people. Civilized people don't have affairs, Mara. What do you want? Money? I'll give you whatever you want in the divorce. You can have the house, the cars, whatever. Just don't destroy our careers. Now, you're worried about being civilized? I'm trying to be practical. Joel and I, we want to be together, but we also have professional obligations. If you expose us publicly, you'll hurt a lot of innocent people. Our colleagues, our clients. Our colleagues and clients aren't my responsibility. You should have thought about them before you decided to fuck your boss. She flinched at my language. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you started wearing lingerie for another man? Was it fair when you used our joint credit card to buy jewelry that wasn't for me? Was it fair when you lied to my face for months?